How did we go from dialogue like this?
Let's take care of business first, shall we, Sonic? Hand over the Chaos Emerald, slowly, and then we'll talk about your girlfriend.
To this.
Baldy nose hair!
Let's be honest for a sec, Sonic games were never Shakespeare. But I think most of us can agree that at some point, the writing for Sonic games took an absolute nosedive, from good down to mediocre, and then finally crashing into Disney Channel levels of dialogue. Isn't that right, Tales from Forces?
True that.
So when did this fall from grace start? To find out, let's look at the first Sonic game that had a full-on story, and move on from there until we see the inevitable decline. The year is 1998. Big Billy Boy is still in the White House, Titanic becomes the highest grossing film of all time, and the last episode of Seinfeld airs. But more importantly, a game called Sonic Adventure releases for the Sega Dreamcast. This is the first true 3D game in the Sonic franchise with full cutscenes and voice acting for the first time. So what was the story? Sonic is hanging out in the biggest city on Earth? Mobius? Whatever. He follows these cops to find some kind of water monster that's just kinda standing there. Menacingly! When the cops can't stop him, Sonic jumps in to save the day. We find out from Eggman that this creature is Chaos, the god of destruction. So the game follows Sonic's adventure, to keep Eggman from getting the Chaos Emeralds and giving them to Chaos to make him stronger. But it's not just Sonic, there are 6 playable characters whose stories overlap from different points of view in different playstyles. The gameplay definitely has its ups and downs, but all around it's pretty fun and a decent step into the 3D game world. But we're talking about the story and the dialogue. The story is great for what it is. It's nothing revolutionary in a video game sense, but for Sonic as a series, it definitely was. We get to learn more about the main characters and delve more into their personalities, which would stick with them to this day. And we get to see more of Sonic's world and how it works. The dialogue, on the other hand,
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
ugh. Now, the dialogue itself isn't really the issue, it's the deliveries. I mean, the actual writing can be a little stilted or awkward, but for a 90s kids game, it's really not that bad. But when we get line deliveries like this, it really takes you out of the moment. Apparently, the reasons for these weird takes is that the voice actors were sent their lines with little to no context in what was going on. So they basically just read their lines how they think they should sound and hoped for the best. Again, this was Sonic Team's first time doing a game like this, so it's kind of excusable. Besides, it's still pretty fun to look back on in Sonic's history. Now we're gonna move up just one game to see where the writing and stories really took off. Sonic Adventure 2 was a direct sequel to Sonic Adventure. It came out 3 years later in 2001. This game's story pretty much built the foundation of what Sonic's world would be like for the foreseeable future. Sonic Adventure 2 starts with Sonic being arrested. He has no idea why, but he escapes and runs off into the city. And at the end of his daring city escape, he comes face to face with the person responsible for the actions that got him arrested. Shadow the Hedgehog. Sonic got blamed for his crimes because they look exactly the same. Side note, apparently the original design for Shadow was going to be a darker version of Sonic, so they did look quite alike for a while during the production. So in Adventure 2, the story is split into 2 sections this time. The Hero story and the Dark story. Hero being played with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and the Dark story being played with Shadow, Eggman, and Rule 34 the Bat. The dialogue in Sonic Adventure 2 was done way better. The characters actually sounded like they were talking to each other in real time, and there were actual emotions portrayed when it was warranted. Just listen to Amy when it appears that Eggman just fucking murdered Sonic.
Farewell, Sonic, my admirable adversary. Now we have some unfinished business to take care of.
The lines may be a little hokey or over the top sometimes, but it fits extremely well here. There are points in this story where you can actually feel for a character. Not to mention, this story has some of the darkest things to ever happen in the Sonic universe. Like Gerald Robotnik saying his final words before being executed by a firing squad? Or seeing Shadow's best friend, a 12-year-old little girl, get shot and killed right in front of him. Try doing that in Sonic colors. So now let's jump ahead to what I think is the last really good Sonic story. By the time Sonic Unleashed came around, Sonic Team had a lot of experience with voice acting and story writing for Sonic. So now when they made a Sonic game, there were a lot more expectations surrounding it. Luckily, I think they hit the nail on the head with what a great Sonic story could be. One without any child murder in it, at least. Sonic Unleashed starts off
In space!
I don't care what anybody says, this is the best opening cutscene to a Sonic game. So Eggman tricked Sonic into bringing all the Chaos Emeralds to him to power his new machine, the Planet Splitter. It doesn't have an actual name, give me a break. And proceeds to break the planet apart. Some type of non-corporeal creature emerges, and at the same time, Sonic turns into, at that time, every Sonic fan's worst nightmare. The Werehog. Eggman then sends Sonic hurtling toward the Earth with all 7 Chaos Emeralds because he's a fucking idiot, and the game starts. So Sonic has to put all the Chaos Emeralds in temples across the planet to bring it back together again, all while helping an amnesia-ridden weirdo try to find out who he is. Sonic Unleashed had hub worlds for each country you went to around the world, each having multiple human residents to talk to and even complete missions for them. And as a side note, let me say these humans fit so much better than the ones from Sonic Adventure 1 or 2. Aside from the main story, many of the human characters in each city were very memorable, and some even had their own storylines to follow that you as Sonic could help them with. It's not anything that furthers the overarching story, but it adds a little bit of character to the world and the rest of the game. Now let's talk about the game that was the beginning of the end for good Sonic stories. Sonic Generations is loved by a lot of Sonic fans, including myself. And for good reason. It pretty much perfected boost gameplay, had extremely tight controls and fantastic level design. But it has a super bland story with really dumb dialogue and line delivery. Introducing Roger Craig Smith. While I have no problem with him as a voice actor at all, I hate his portrayal of Sonic. I thought it would grow on me, but to this day, I just cannot get used to it. Sonic Team wanted Sonic's voice to be a little deeper and more mature, but honestly, I think it backfired. The voice being deeper and more mature, coupled with Disney Channel type dialogue, makes him sound extremely juvenile. The game starts out with all the characters gathered around a table and Tails running up saying, "Sonic's coming!" Okay, how in the hell did Tails outrun Sonic? The only guy that can outrun Sonic is Eggman. Sonic runs up and of course it's his birthday party. The reason being Sonic Generations was the 20th anniversary of Sonic. Up until this point, it's not so bad, but then this random purple monster shows up and sucks everybody into different portals. Sonic runs towards him and says,
Hey, not cool.
"That's what you say when your friends get kidnapped? Not cool?" He didn't fart during the national anthem, he may have just killed your friends. The story is you and your friends are stuck in this type of limbo where a bunch of old levels from Sonic's past are devoid of all color and life. So Sonic and Sonic have to, get this, run really fast through all the levels, which doing so brings back all the color and I guess restores time. So there aren't a lot of actual cutscenes in Sonic Generations aside from the 30-second clips of characters thanking you for reviving them, and the ones that are in the game suffer from extremely immature lines and jokes.
Wow, you weren't kidding when you said soon. I thought you already left. You're doing great, Sonic. You mean you're doing great, Sonics?
Destroy me? You and what mustache?
But Z-Man, I hear you say. It's a game for kids. Why do you care about the dialogue if it's for kids? Because, my stupid friend. 1, just because a game is made for kids, which Sonic shouldn't be, he's for everybody, doesn't mean the story and the jokes have to be cliche and dumbed down. Kids aren't inherently stupid. They like good stories and good humor just like everyone else. Developers shouldn't use kids as an excuse for lazy writing. And 2, Sonic games had some pretty decent stories and writing in the past, so why throw out all that rich history for this garbage? But unfortunately from there it just got worse and worse. But there is hope. I'm guessing if you've gotten this far in the video or even clicked on this video, you probably played Sonic Frontiers. Frontiers' story wasn't groundbreaking, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, but it was better. It was way better than what we've gotten in the last 10 years from the games, and that's partly because of who's in charge of the stories now. Enter Ian Flynn. Ian Flynn has been writing for Sonic for a long time now in other projects. The Archie Sonic comics, the Sonic Boom TV show, and most important, I'd say, is the IDW Sonic comic. If you've read any of the IDW published Sonic comics, you know that the writing in it is leagues above anything from Sonic Generations and on. I'm not going to spoil anything from the series, but if you love stories in Sonic's world and are looking for something fresh, I definitely recommend giving them a read. Having said that, I'm really excited to see where the next game goes with its story. I have a lot of confidence in Ian Flynn's storytelling. So what do you think? Do you agree that Sonic's stories were all better in the beginning and then just dropped off? Or do you think they were going in the right direction all along? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time on The Z-Man Show.